Tracker's beeping. So this must be the place. Don't worry. You've got this.
Hello. Sorry to disturb you, but is this 123 MacGuffin Lane? I see. And by any chance, would you happen to be the owner? Yeah, I see. Very well. Is there any chance I might come inside? There's something important the two of us need to discuss. Oh, my apologies. I should have explained earlier. I'm a law enforcement officer. Here's my badge in case you need evidence. Yes, it's a special division, hence the initials. Their meaning is classified, sorry. At least for now. No, you're not under arrest. Nothing to worry about. I just need to ask you a few questions. Well, yes, you absolutely have every right to refuse. However, by doing so, it does suggest that something is wrong, and that my involvement is a necessity, rather than a precaution. If you do refuse, I'll have to go and get a warrant. And I'm sure I'm not going to have to do that, am I? Thank you. Glad you can be reasoned with. Oh, it's a lovely home you have here. It's very quaint. No, I don't own anything like this. Nothing like this. It's a bit out of my price range. Really lovely place, though. I was wondering if we might conduct our interview in the living room here. It's certainly a very nice living room. Did you decorate it yourself? I like the colors. Really meshes well together. Oh, no, I don't need a drink or anything. Thank you for offering, though. Please, take a seat. Yes, I did mention in an interview. In truth, this is more than just a few questions, like I said. Poor phrasing on my part, really. This is more of a test. To determine who you are, in a sense. Oh, it's all completely official, I assure you. And again, you do have the right to refuse, but doing so will mean I'll have to come back later. So, best to get out of the way. Now enough pussyfooting around. Let's get on with this. Pussyfooting. Why did I say that? Now, I just need to fill in some details first. Could you tell me your name? Thank you. I'll just make a note of that. Occupation? Thank you. Age? Wonderful. There's some other details, but I'll be able to fill them in as we go. Now, are you comfortable? Not nervous or anything? If you are, I find it helps to take deep breaths like this. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Now with me. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Very good. It's important that you're relaxed while we do this. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Now, the questions start. Could you tell me something about yourself? A memory, for instance. Oh, it can be any, really. Childhood, recent, adult, whatever. You went shopping last week. Wow, that's a surprise. What did you get? Oh, that's nice. Let me make a note of it. Subject recalls Events of previous week. Alright. How about we go back a bit further? Could you tell me something from your childhood, perhaps? Anything at all. Doesn't matter. Just something. No? Nothing comes to mind. Interesting. Okay. What about your outside life? Your relatives or anything? What are your mom and dad's names? I see. The person charged did not put a lot of effort into you. Oh, nothing. Nothing. Nothing that concerns you, anyways. Well, I have to say the rest of the questions are redundant. In all my years, I never encountered a subject who was so obviously a protagonist, and a lazy one at that. What am I talking about? Do you not think it's a bit strange you don't recall your birth parents' names, or anything from your childhood? Tell me, what's the oldest memory you can remember? Last week, again? What happened last week, my friend? You woke up. Okay. Then stared at yourself in the mirror for a moment. How original. Yep, definitely a protagonist. That alone would have been enough if you said that first. Let me guess. You feel like you're missing something, don't you? Like you have some great purpose you haven't fulfilled yet, but it's just out there, on the horizon. Am I right? Yep, I think I have what I need. No, don't get up. This will take just a moment. Protagonist, please, put your hands in the air. Don't move. Stay still. You're not going anywhere. Now, by my authority as a member of the Protagonist Police Department agency, I'm placing you under arrest under suspicion of violating Code 1, the most important code of all, being a protagonist. Stand up, turn around. There. Are they too tight? Good. Do you have any idea the damage you could have done if left unchecked? It's a good thing we noticed the warning signs. It could have been catastrophic. An active protagonist for a week. It could already be too late. You don't know what a protagonist is? Really? I'm sorry, it just seems unlikely. They're basically the main character of a story. The narrative revolves around them, essentially. Almost every story has one. And that's the problem. We don't want a narrative. We don't want a story. At least, not a dangerous one. I'm going to bring you to the station. Do some research, figure out what kind of protagonist you are, and figure out what kind of story plot you belong to. You're probably not a fantasy protagonist. Our world doesn't reflect that. Although, I suppose a portal fantasy could work. Though those shouldn't be too dangerous, really, since they primarily take place in an alternate world. Oh, there's different danger levels depending on the genre. For example, you could belong to some kind of sci-fi genre, like an alien invasion, or a disaster movie. Do you have any idea how difficult it would be to contain a disaster movie narrative? It'd be a nightmare. I'm sure I don't need to tell you. You're still not getting it. Do you have any idea how crazy plots are nowadays? Writers have really jumped the shark in how destructive things can get. Every time someone writes a story, somewhere out in the vast infinitude of the multiverse, it becomes real. Which means every bad thing that happens in those stories also becomes real. And we don't want that in our universe for obvious reasons. We like our world mundane. We like it quiet. So every time we get an inkling that a story is about to start, we find the protagonist and stop them from protagging, so to speak. So we can't have them being active and getting the story rolling. Depending on the story, literally everyone could die. But if you don't have a protagonist experiencing the narrative, the story can't get rolling. It doesn't have any legs and it fizzles out before it even begins. So, that's why I'm arresting you. Oh yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff. The sort of stories people think of, it's insane. Gosh, don't get me started on the number of apocalypse storylines. We've had to contain half a dozen of them this week alone. Zombies, meteors, earthquakes. People really love writing them. Drives me insane. It was very close with you. I mean, you've been active for a week. Yikes. Could have gotten really nasty. Must have been a slow burn kind of thing. Or maybe the writer couldn't decide how to open the narrative properly. They must be inexperienced if they're having you look into a mirror. It's such a cliche way to open a story. I mean, you going to the shop seems to have been a key detail. Did anything else happen? Did you run into someone that you clicked with? Maybe you're a romance protagonist. That wouldn't be so bad. Not worth the risk of letting you go, but it's not a terrible option. I mean, they could have just been your love interest in a different kind of movie. It's really not worth risking it. Nothing else happened, really. Having a scene with no purpose is a really big writing sin, but there must have been something to it. Have I got the right person? I must have. Let me just check my tracker again. Make sure everything's alright. What do I think? Well, based on how I have to keep responding in a certain way to intuit what you're saying, I think we're in some kind of one-way communication thing. You know, like a script for an ASMR video or something. Not the highest calling being the protagonist of an ASMR script, I'll admit. But hey, maybe it's an NSFW or something. That could have been fun, What's a tracker? It led me here, to your house. It locked on to protagonist energies, but it should have stopped beeping as soon as I snapped the cuffs on you. Why is it still beeping? And it's beeping like the protagonist is right here. Oh no. The tracker, what it's saying is, it's me. I'm the protagonist. It all makes sense now. As soon as I arrived at the house, the story started. Someone got the idea to write an ASMR script about us, about the protagonist police, and I'm the protagonist of the story. This has never happened before. Never. It's completely unforeseen. I can't even... What about you? Well, I guess you must be a side character or something. That explains why your personality, your backstory, it was all underbaked. We must have an extremely lazy scriptwriter or something. And that stuff with the store. Just a lazy way to mislead the audience, but why write a script about this? There's no real way to conclude it. I mean, a tale of this scope, it can't fit into a single script under 2,000 words. And I doubt it's going to end up being a series. I mean, who'd want to write a series about this? Yes, of course I'm worried. I'm worried because what's the writer going to do? Everything that's happened, it's preordained and up to them. Even what I'm saying now, we have no way of knowing what's going to happen next, especially since there's no satisfying way to end this in the time that's been given. Unless... Oh no. Why? Why are you looking at me like that all of a sudden? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh! It's an NSFW script! No!